For weeks, online investigators had been combing through every detail of the case. Old photos, deleted posts, fragments of conversations. And slowly, a disturbing possibility began to surface. What if the person closest to Yu Menglong had never truly been on his side? According to several netizens, Yu Menglong's girlfriend may not have been simply a romantic partner. Instead, she may have been a planted observer, someone placed beside him to monitor his actions and eventually betray him. The woman at the center of this speculation is Ying Ting. The theory gained traction after a series of strange discoveries online. Cryptic coded messages began circulating on social media platforms, messages that some believed were connected to a secret plan targeting Yu Menglong. According to those who attempted to decode them, the messages hinted at an operation designed to harm him and seize a mysterious USB drive said to contain evidence related to money laundering. Even more unsettling were events that occurred shortly before the alleged incident. At one public appearance, Yu Menglong performed an English song for fans. But listeners later noticed something unusual. The lyrics he chose sounded less like a performance, and more like a quiet plea for help. His voice reportedly broke at one point, as if the words carried a deeper meaning. Around the same time, an unidentified individual online brazenly posted a chilling message. "I am the killer. Come and arrest me." To many observers, the statement felt like a taunt, a declaration made by someone who believed they would never face consequences. As discussion about the case intensified, some commentators claimed that organized groups of online accounts were being mobilized to attack foreign media outlets and spread conflicting narratives about the incident. Supporters of Yu Menglong began urging people to stay vigilant, arguing that public attention might be the only way to uncover the truth. Amid this storm of speculation, one question continued to surface again and again. Was Yu Menglong betrayed by someone he trusted the most? The answer may lie in the identity of the woman who once appeared inseparable from him. So who exactly is Ying Ting? The public first noticed her in 2021, when an entertainment blogger photographed Yu Menglong attending a casual gathering with a mysterious woman. The two appeared extremely close. They walked side by side, holding hands while crossing the street, laughing and chatting like any ordinary couple. The following day, they were seen again, this time dining with friends and talking outdoors late into the evening. At one moment, the woman leaned gently into Yu Menglong's arms. He wrapped his arm around her shoulders and softly stroked her hair, a quiet, affectionate gesture that many interpreted as proof of a genuine relationship. That woman was Ying Ting. From certain angles, she bears a resemblance to actress Song Yen, which initially caused some confusion online. But she was not the actress. She was someone else entirely. And as internet users began researching her background, they discovered that Ying Ting's life story was far more complex than it first appeared. According to reports, she was born in Xianing, in China's Hubei province. In the early 1990s, she was reportedly involved in an investment in the Beijing Jingshi Kaiwan Technical Research Institute, holding a small percentage of the company's shares. She later studied at the Tianjin Conservatory of Music before entering the entertainment industry. Eventually, she signed with a Beijing cultural company and began appearing in film projects. In fact, her career seemed to be gaining momentum. At one point, she was even nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the prestigious Golden Rooster Awards. One widely circulated photo shows Ying Ting sitting on the floor, holding her nomination certificate, smiling beside several well-known figures in the entertainment industry. Their relaxed posture suggests that they had known each other for quite some time. But the deeper netizens looked, the more connections they began to uncover. Some noticed that Ying Ting appeared in group photos with individuals who were later linked, at least through rumors, to figures connected to Yu Menglong's circle. In one image shared online, she can be seen standing behind another guest at a dinner gathering, quietly observing while others pose for the camera. Then another strange detail surfaced. Shortly after news of Yu Menglong's situation began spreading online, a social media post briefly appeared mentioning Ying Ting by name. The author described attending a show with her and later having dinner with an old classmate. The post included a screenshot of a private chat. But not long after it appeared, both the post and the screenshot were suddenly deleted. That deletion only fueled more speculation. One netizen commented, "Remember when someone said a girlfriend had been planted beside Xiaoyu to monitor him? They supposedly paid her to leave the country. Maybe they planned to use her later." Another wrote, "Could Ting be that person? From what I found, she seems very close to certain people connected to his projects." In 2020, before filming a drama project, one industry figure had reportedly recommended Ting for a role. In 2021, paparazzi photographed Yu Menglong holding hands with a woman believed to be his girlfriend. And in 2022, Ting received her Golden Rooster nomination for a performance in that same project. To some observers, the timeline seemed almost too neat. One comment summed up the growing suspicion. "It all fits together. I always wondered who the girl was holding hands with Xiaoyu in 2021. And then suddenly, no more news about them." For the next year or two, very little information about Yu Menglong's personal life surfaced. When he eventually reappeared in public in 2023, many people noticed a change. He looked exhausted, not like someone happily in love. Of course, there is still no definitive proof that Ting was anything more than his girlfriend. The theory that she was a planted spy remains speculation. But the possibility, however remote, has left many people deeply unsettled. Because if it were true, then Yu Menglong may have been surrounded by enemies long before he realized it. As discussions about Yu Menglong's fate spread across the internet, attention slowly shifted toward the woman who had once stood quietly beside him, Ting. At first glance, her background appeared respectable, even impressive. According to information uncovered by online investigators, Ting was born in Xianing, a city in Hubei province. She later pursued higher education at the Tianjin Conservatory of Music, one of the country's well-known institutions for performing arts. After graduating, she gradually entered the entertainment industry, signing with a cultural media company based in Beijing. For a time, her career seemed to follow a steady upward path. She appeared in film and television productions and eventually received a nomination for Best Supporting Actress at the Golden Rooster Awards, one of the most prestigious honors in Chinese cinema. Photographs from that period show Ting sitting on the floor, smiling while holding her nomination certificate. Beside her were several well-known figures from the industry. The relaxed atmosphere in those images suggested familiarity, hinting that she had already built a close network of connections within the entertainment world. But when people began examining those connections more carefully, questions started to arise. One photograph circulating online showed Ting attending a dinner gathering with several individuals whose names would later appear in discussions surrounding Yu Menglong's case. In the picture, she stands quietly behind another guest, dressed in black, observing the scene while others sit around the table. At the time the photo was taken, it seemed completely ordinary. Years later, however, netizens began revisiting every detail. Why was she present at so many gatherings involving figures connected to Yu Menglong's professional circle? And how deep were those relationships? Another unusual moment occurred shortly after news about Yu Menglong began spreading online. A social media post briefly appeared on Weibo written by someone claiming to have met Ting the day before. The post read, "Yesterday I went to a show with Ting, then had dinner with an old classmate." Attached to the message was a screenshot of what appeared to be a private chat conversation. But within hours, both the post and the screenshot disappeared. The sudden deletion only intensified speculation. Soon, comment sections across Chinese social media were filled with theories. One user wrote, "Remember when someone mentioned that a girlfriend had been planted beside Xiaoyu to monitor him? They said she was later paid to leave the country." Another commented, "Could Ting be that person? I checked her connections, and she seems very close to certain people around his projects." Some users began tracing the timeline of her career more closely. In 2020, before production began on a film project known as Drifting in Literary City, one industry figure reportedly recommended Ting for a role. In 2021, paparazzi photographs captured Yu Menglong walking hand in hand with a mysterious woman believed to be his girlfriend. And in 2022, Ting received her Golden Rooster nomination for that same film. To some observers, the sequence of events seemed strangely coordinated. "It all fits," one commenter wrote. "I always wondered who the girl was holding Xiao Yu's hand at the end of 2021, and why we never heard about her again afterward." Indeed, after that period, information about the couple's relationship seemed to vanish almost entirely. For nearly 2 years, there were very few public appearances involving both of them. The photographs stopped. Mentions of her name became rare. The relationship that had once appeared so natural in paparazzi photos faded quietly into the background. Then, in 2023, Yu Menglong finally reappeared publicly after a long period out of the spotlight. But something about him seemed different. Viewers noticed that he looked unusually tired, pale, thin, and emotionally distant. The cheerful confidence that had once defined his public image seemed to have faded. To many fans, he no longer looked like a man enjoying a successful career and a loving relationship. Instead, he looked like someone carrying a heavy burden. Of course, none of this proves that Ting had any hidden role in the events that followed. Much of what circulates online remains speculation, built from fragments of photos, deleted posts, and scattered rumors. But the questions refuse to disappear. Because if the suspicions are true, then Yu Menglong's story may not simply be about a tragic incident. It could be a story about trust, carefully constructed relationships, and the possibility that someone very close to him knew far more than they ever revealed. And as online investigators continued digging through old messages and archived posts, they eventually stumbled upon something even more disturbing: a series of cryptic coded messages posted online shortly before the incident. Messages that some believe may have been describing a plan, long before anyone realized what was coming. While speculation about Ting continued to spread online, another discovery began capturing the attention of investigators on social media. It started with a single post. On August 31st, an account on the Chinese social media platform Little Red Book published a strange message that immediately confused readers. The account name itself appeared random, a long string of letters and numbers, and the post contained an even stranger sequence of characters. At the beginning were 2 lines made up entirely of the letters X and Z. Then came a sentence that made little sense on its own. Z eternal love, 10 miles of peach blossoms. To most readers, it sounded like a meaningless fragment. But for fans of Yu Menglong, the phrase immediately stood out. 10 Miles of Peach Blossoms was the title of a popular drama series in which Yu Menglong had once appeared. At first, people dismissed the post as nonsense. But things became unsettling when someone replied beneath the message. The reply read, "Next week, or the week after, we'll finally catch that kid and deal with him. At this stage, find more people. Organize again and again. Catch him and handle it." Many readers were confused by the conversation, asking what the 2 users meant. But neither account ever responded. For several days, the post remained online without explanation. Then one internet user decided to examine it more closely. Instead of reading the text normally, they began analyzing the structure of the message, focusing on the initials of each word and the unusual arrangement of letters. By rearranging the fragments and interpreting them through pinyin initials, the user believed they had uncovered a hidden message embedded within the text. The result was deeply disturbing. According to the decoded interpretation, the message appeared to describe a plan involving Yu Menglong himself. The first clue was the timing. The original post had been published on August 31st, a Sunday. In the message, the phrase "next week" or "the week after" appeared repeatedly. When people compared that timeline to later reports about the alleged incident involving Yu Menglong, the dates seemed to line up with the week of September 11th. Then came the most chilling part of the decoding. According to the interpretation shared online, the hidden message described a coordinated operation. It suggested that several individuals had been assigned specific roles. One group was allegedly responsible for capturing Yu Menglong. Another group was said to be preparing to film what the message described as a cutting process. Another line claimed that someone named Chongqing had ordered people to perform a surgery to retrieve a USB drive from Yu Menglong's body. After that, the message allegedly mentioned throwing the body from a height and cleaning up witnesses. If the interpretation was accurate, the post appeared to describe an attack that had been planned in advance with shocking detail. What disturbed many observers even more was the possibility that these communications had been posted publicly, hidden in plain sight because the people involved believed no one would ever decipher them. For a while, the messages attracted little attention. But once the decoding spread online, screenshots began circulating rapidly across forums and social media platforms. Users started archiving the posts, comparing timestamps, and attempting to trace the identity behind the mysterious account. Some even speculated that multiple accounts were communicating with each other through coded phrases. Of course, there is still no official confirmation that the decoded message truly meant what internet investigators claimed it did. But the timing, the references, and the eerie alignment with later events left many people unsettled. If the message was genuine, then the incident involving Yu Menglong may not have been spontaneous at all. It may have been planned weeks in advance. And if that were true, then the number of people involved could be far larger than anyone originally imagined. But the most shocking revelation had not yet surfaced, because soon after these messages began circulating online, another person connected to the case would step forward and openly admit to being present during the events of that night. Just as the discussion about the coded messages began spreading across online forums, another revelation suddenly surfaced. This one was even more disturbing. According to reports circulating among netizens, there were 17 people present at the location connected to the final moments of Yu Menglong's life. For a long time, the identities of those individuals remained unclear. But then one name unexpectedly appeared online. A woman known as Fu Zika, also called Kelly Yuan, allegedly posted messages on social media describing her own behavior during the incident. What shocked people most was not just what she said, but how casually she said it. According to screenshots shared by internet users, Fu Zika admitted that she had once kicked Yu Menglong's pet corgi, Fuli. To many readers, the statement sounded almost insignificant at first. But when combined with other details that soon emerged, the story became far darker. Some users claimed that a video recorded near the scene captured a disturbing moment. In the footage, a shadow believed to be Fuli could be seen being thrown from an upper floor. At the same time, a desperate voice could reportedly be heard shouting the dog's name, Fuli. Moments later, according to the same claims, another body was thrown from above. If the accounts were accurate, it suggested that Yu Menglong may have been forced to witness harm coming to his beloved pet before his own life was taken. For many people following the case, this possibility was heartbreaking. And Fu Zika's name quickly spread across social media platforms as netizens attempted to confirm whether she was truly one of the individuals present that night. But the story did not end there. Further investigation into Fu Zika's background revealed another surprising detail. According to several reports, her grandfather was said to be Fu Zhuai, a founding major general of the People's Liberation Army. Because of this family background, Fu Zika was often described as part of China's so-called Third Red Generation, descendants of powerful revolutionary families. That revelation only intensified public anger. Many netizens believed it might explain why some individuals connected to the incident seemed so confident that they would never face consequences. Around the same time, screenshots began circulating showing another shocking message posted online. An account operating under the name John Tong Science and Technology Company Limited allegedly claimed responsibility for multiple deaths. In one message, the account mocked those demanding justice. Chu Fong has already been buried. You'll never catch us. It must infuriate you. The message continued with an even more provocative declaration. I'm the one who killed Chu Fong and Wang Shangjuan. Go ahead, try to arrest me. The user even challenged authorities directly, suggesting that the victims' families had already been pressured into calling the deaths accidents. The tone of the messages was chilling, arrogant, almost taunting. To many observers, it felt like a deliberate display of power. As screenshots of these posts spread, outrage across social media grew rapidly. Thousands of people began sharing videos, photos, and personal memories related to Yu Menglong. Some users admitted that even weeks later, they still could not watch certain clips without breaking down in tears. For them, the tragedy felt deeply personal. But amid the anger and grief, some online investigators began noticing another strange detail, something that had been visible for years but had never drawn much attention before. It had nothing to do with cryptic messages or confessions. Instead, it was something far more subtle: Yu Menglong's clothing. When fans carefully reviewed photos and videos from his public appearances, they noticed something unusual. The shoes he wore often appeared 2 or 3 sizes too large. His pants looked loose, sometimes tied awkwardly at the waist with a piece of string. The collars of his shirts appeared worn and frayed. Yet despite these details, he continued wearing the same items during public events. At first glance, it seemed trivial, but once people began discussing it, the questions multiplied. Was this simply a coincidence? Or was it a sign that something deeper was happening behind the scenes of Yu Menglong's life? As investigators continued digging, rumors began pointing toward someone who had enormous control over his career, his manager, and what they discovered about that relationship would soon raise even more troubling questions. As the investigation carried on, netizens began examining every detail of Yu Menglong's public appearances. What they found was not a single piece of evidence, but a pattern of small, unsettling clues that seemed to point toward something deeply wrong behind the scenes. One of the first things people noticed was his clothing. In many public photos and videos, Yu Menglong's shoes appeared far too large for his feet, sometimes 2 or even 3 sizes bigger than normal. His pants often looked loose and poorly fitted, occasionally tied at the waist with a simple string. The collars of his shirts appeared worn and frayed, as if they had been used for years. At first, these details seemed insignificant, but the more fans compared images from different events, the more unusual the pattern became. One pair of oversized shoes could be an accident, but several pairs? Some netizens began asking a troubling question. Was he even allowed to choose what he wore? Rumors soon began circulating that gifts sent to Yu Menglong by brands, including clothing and luxury items, were not given directly to him. Instead, they reportedly had to pass through his manager first. That manager was a man named Du Qian. According to some claims, several of those gifts never reached Yu Menglong at all. One rumor even suggested that Du Qian had once sold a bozzeting down jacket that had been gifted to Yu Menglong by the brand itself. Whether these accusations were true or not remains unclear. But the story contributed to a growing belief that Yu Menglong's life may have been far more controlled than the public realized. Then another heartbreaking moment resurfaced online. During a fan event, Yu Menglong once performed an English song on stage. At the time, it seemed like a normal performance meant to entertain his audience. But years later, viewers noticed something strange. The lyrics he sang appeared to be slightly altered. Instead of simply following the original version of the song, Yu Menglong seemed to change certain lines, turning them into words that described a person trapped without freedom, someone who had no time or space to make decisions for themselves. At first, many people thought they might be imagining things, but then they noticed the moment his voice suddenly faltered. When he reached the line, "If I can't find the road to love, I can't go on alone," his voice cracked. For a brief second, he turned away from the camera. Instead of finishing the line directly, he suddenly pretended to scold his dog, Fooly, as if the corgi had done something mischievous. But fans watching closely could see what he was trying to hide. He was struggling to control his emotions. That moment, which once seemed small and easily forgotten, suddenly felt very different when viewed through the lens of everything that followed. Many netizens later said the same thing after watching the clip again. It sounded less like a performance and more like a silent cry for help. The tragedy surrounding Yu Menglong soon sparked widespread anger online. Across mainland China, people began demanding answers. Some supporters reportedly sent letters directly to government offices in Beijing, urging authorities to investigate what had truly happened. According to posts circulating online, the number of reports and phone calls became so overwhelming that staff members at certain agencies struggled to respond. One internet user even claimed they had been reading an article about the case when it suddenly disappeared halfway through. The post, they said, suggested that some officials in Beijing were under intense pressure because of the flood of public complaints. Whether that claim was accurate remains unknown. But one thing was clear: the public was paying attention, and the pressure was growing. Meanwhile, strange events continued to unfold. Some reports suggested that individuals connected to the case had begun quietly destroying potential evidence. One rumor claimed that an exhibition at the Red Brick Art Museum in Beijing had been dismantled overnight without explanation. The exhibition had originally opened months earlier and was supposed to close on August 31st. But for reasons that were never clearly explained, it had been extended until October 8th, just days before the alleged incident involving Yu Menglong. Then suddenly it was gone. If nothing had happened, people asked, why remove it in the middle of the night? Why erase it so quickly? These unanswered questions only deepened the mystery. And as the weeks passed, public frustration continued to grow. But the story of Yu Menglong did not end with silence. Because soon, people across China, and even beyond its borders, would begin finding unexpected ways to keep his memory alive. As weeks passed after the tragedy surrounding Yu Menglong, the silence from official channels only seemed to deepen the public's frustration. Yet, instead of fading away, the conversation online grew stronger. Across Chinese social media platforms, countless users continued sharing old videos, interviews, and scenes from Yu Menglong's past performances. Many fans admitted that even a month later, they still found it difficult to watch those clips without becoming emotional. To them, the loss felt deeply personal. Some described the case as a wound that refused to heal, a story filled with unanswered questions and shadows that no one seemed willing to address. At the same time, strange developments continued to appear in the background. Rumors began circulating that certain pieces of evidence might have been quietly destroyed. One report claimed that a fire had broken out in Shandong on October 14th, allegedly linked to the destruction of financial records belonging to a shell company connected to money laundering operations. At first, the incident briefly appeared in online discussions. But soon afterward, many posts about the fire reportedly vanished from Chinese media platforms, leaving only fragments of the story behind. Then another unexpected event occurred. On October 22nd, an official government office responsible for Taiwan affairs launched a new Facebook page intended to promote communication with the public. Within a short time, the page gathered several thousand followers. But instead of discussions about policy, the comment sections quickly filled with a different message: justice for Yu Menglong. At first, moderators reportedly attempted to delete those comments. But as more users joined the conversation, the number of messages grew so large that removing them all became nearly impossible. The public attention refused to disappear, and perhaps the most symbolic moment came only a few days earlier. On the evening of October 19th, something unusual happened in Lanzhou, in China's Gansu province. At a large shopping complex known for its massive Ferris wheel, a giant LED display suddenly lit up the night sky. But instead of advertisements or entertainment promotions, the screen showed something else: images of Yu Menglong. Scenes from his most beloved television roles, from historical dramas to modern series, began appearing across the enormous circular display as the Ferris wheel slowly turned above the city. The structure itself stood nearly 88 meters tall, towering over the surrounding skyline. Against the darkness of the night, Yu Menglong's familiar face appeared again and again, illuminated by thousands of bright lights. Videos capturing the moment spread rapidly across the internet. Within hours, they had been viewed hundreds of thousands of times. For many fans, the scene carried a powerful meaning. Even if official answers never came, people would not forget him. Meanwhile, beyond China's borders, some supporters began calling for international attention to the case. A user known online as Countess292 claimed to have submitted a request to international human rights organizations, urging them to investigate reports connected to disturbing art exhibits displayed in Beijing's 798 Art District. Those exhibits, according to certain claims, might have contained materials made from real human remains, allegations that sparked fear and controversy among viewers. Organizations such as the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights accept individual reports concerning human rights violations, and some supporters suggested that formal petitions could be submitted through those channels. Others mentioned that international courts theoretically allow submissions related to serious crimes, although such cases require verified evidence before any investigation can begin. Whether those efforts will lead to new answers remains uncertain. For now, the story of Yu Menglong remains surrounded by speculation, fragments of evidence, and countless unanswered questions. But one message continues to echo across the internet. Those seeking the truth must not give up, because sometimes the only thing stronger than silence is the memory of someone people refuse to forget.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos.